GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Folks, October is off to a banging start. The government is shut down. Who cares? Stocks are at all-time highs. Crypto is rising by the hour right now. And today we are asking, is this rally real? Or will it fail like the others? Still no Farouk or Amanda, but we got Logan in the house along with me, your host, Tyler D, to help break everything down. Logan, GM, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. I am doing well. Yeah, price is very green. Very green. So not complaining about that. Stressful day here now with the Cubbies in a deciding elimination game.
Yes.
A little bit later today. Otherwise, feeling pretty good. Can't complain.
What are the odds saying for our beloved Cubbies here?
I think they're like minus 120 or something today. It's basically another coin flip.
Yeah, 52. I'm seeing 52-49. Cubs slightly favored after being 75% favorites to win the series yesterday. So now back to a coin flip.
Yeah.
So we will certainly see. That game is 4:08 Central?
4:08 Central, yeah, 5:08 Eastern.
All right. So not quite prime time, a little before prime time. We'll have to tune in for that one. That will be a big one. Folks, what are we talking about here today on the show? A lot. We're going to go into the market report, majors rallying, stocks rallying, MicroStrategy rallying, some new big targets from some of the biggest banks in the world, plus a lot more. We're going to talk Moonbirds token, breaking news right before the show, how that's going to impact the Moonbirds floor along with that Burb strategy token. We had to talk the NFT strategy tokens. These things continue to be up into the right, 50, 80% gains on the day. So we'll hit those. We've got New York running a stablecoin pilot for UBI. What is that going to mean? And then Polymarket US return, they might go live in the US as soon as today. So we're going to talk about that, spend a little bit of time talking prediction markets here as well, along with a few other headlines. Lighter Mainnet goes live. Monad coming Q4, plus a bit more. But producer Charlie, hit us with the intro and we'll get into it.
For daily NFT and crypto analysis, Tyler D on FOMO Hour cause the kid can't miss.
Ready to bash some bears. Yeah, folks, I've got the screen share fired up for those who are in the Kick stream. We are live on Kick and streaming on X as well. Come join us. But, man, this is a beautiful, beautiful board to kick off our Thursday morning here. Oh, my. Bitcoin up 2%, 119.6. Knocking on 120. We want 120 so bad. Just Ansem's gut. Nothing is down more than Ansem's gut right now. 90K before 120. I don't want to dance. I don't want to start celebrating just yet, but we are less than 0.5% away. So the Bears' last stand looks like it is coming perhaps to an end. ETH up 2%, 44.16. BNB back up 3%. It had a little bit of a sideways stretched out at 1050. And then Solana leading the way for the majors, 226 is leading on the day and leading on the week. It's up 12%. So it's not just a Bitcoin only rally, folks. The other majors are certainly moving in step or perhaps even outperforming. Top movers on a day. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, if you're on CT, you've seen Zcash 66% up on the day. Up 160% on the week. And like, these are moves that we just really haven't seen. Well, I mean, I guess we have seen them in the last couple of weeks with Plasma and Aster and Apex. So it has been quite the alt season, if we're being honest. This one is wild.
You know what this reminds me of, Tyler, is that brief period of time in which the OKX token went up like 200% a day for like 2 or 3 days in a row, and seemingly out of left field, but nobody was really talking about it or cared too much about it. My issue here was I actually I watched a Zcash video on X, and now my feed is all about Zcash. So
I'm not even sure if it's tied to your video watch. Like my feed is all Zcash as well. I think it's just all anyone is talking about, and rightfully so. Look at this chart. There were no entries, folks. I'm sorry. It went from 50 to 150 basically in 5 days. But if you zoom out, the zoomed out chart does not look as great.
No,
that is quite a fact. So I think a lot of folks who maybe be discovering Zcash for the first time, I think, maybe before building a large position. Explore the history a little bit, learn a bit more about the token. Naval backing it certainly has had its impact, but there's probably going to be some sell pressure.
Yeah, I actually have some experience here. I was
Oh,
looking
do
at
you?
my yeah, I do. Not with like any strong conviction or thesis, but I was looking back into my Coinbase activity around Zcash. And I had purchased some in 2017, and I also purchased, or maybe 2018, sorry, and a little bit more in 2021. There's some buys and sells in there. But I still have one on a Trezor from 2018 that I purchased for like $600.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm still down pretty bad on that one, but I'm still holding just one. It's just one Zcash.
One might be all you need.
Yeah, hopefully
to make it. I have not spent time going in depth through this. I understand like the privacy aspect of it. I am bullish on the privacy narrative over the next 3 to 5 years plus as crypto hits main stage, becomes more public, more government eyes, more regulator eyes. I definitely see that case. I think there are other privacy tokens as well, though. So it's not like Zcash alone is the bet on privacy, but clearly people are betting on it right now. But there were some other big movers on the board as well. I mean, the DEX is up 34%. XBX, haven't really called out that ticker in a while, up 14% back to $1.22. Aptos had a nice day. Litecoin, Radium. So a lot of big movers. Aster even back up 6%, though pulling back from local highs. Going through the market report a bit more. Stocks, green, looks like they're coming down a bit after popping hard at the open today. I think NVIDIA hit a new all-time high. Tesla was knocking on 480 this morning. So they are on a huge run. This is despite the government shutdown happening. And I think that the question now is, how long is this going to last? And I don't know that we really have a strong read. We can go to see what the prediction markets are talking about. When will the government shutdown end on Poly market? Looks like the favorite right now, people are betting on an extended one. So October 15th or later at 37%. Though October 10th to 14th, which would be, I guess, starting Friday to that Monday, those odds have popped up about 10%. So I don't really think anyone in the betting market has a real read on this. And maybe they do, and it's just my naivete. But this feels like a bit more of a guessing, perhaps looking at historical trends. But I don't know that we really have much inside baseball on how long this shutdown's going to last.
I couldn't even give you a guess.
Yeah, I don't have a guess either. I think there is going to be a lot of pressure by the day to get these politicians back to work. That is their job.
Yeah, I'd like one of these shutdowns, one of these work shutdowns.
The thing is, like, we laugh, but like there are a lot of people impacted by this, right?
Of course,
that's work. Yeah. I have a good friend who is in the housing business, and they do a lot of work with the federal government on putting together housing, short-term housing, backed by the government, and they're just, it's all shut down. So that's just one example of hundreds. So there are impacts here. Thoughts out to those who are impacted. Going through the market, MicroStrategy. You're starting to see this again. A lot of people are starting to dance on the grave. Saylor, he was finished. He hasn't been buying as much. This thing is up now $50, basically in 5 days. So it was at 300 last week. It's back to 350 now, up 16% over the past 5 days. That has to be outpacing Bitcoin. I don't have the Bitcoin 5-day up. I'm guessing it was probably closer to 7-8%. Now green on the month as well, up 17% year to date. That's basically, let's take a look. What is Bitcoin up year to date here? I'm guessing it's about the same. So Bitcoin year to date is 28%. Wow. All right. So MicroStrategy is still lagging on the year. The big news we talked about, or actually, I don't know if we did talk about this news yesterday. Let me pull this up if I've got it. Do I not have this headline? Well, I know Decrypt wrote a story, but effectively, or Logan, you may have wrote the story.
No, I didn't write this one. I think my colleague Andre, maybe the tax stuff.
Exactly. So the news broke. I think Strategy may have broke the news themselves yesterday. Why am I not finding this? I'll look for it here while
right
we
there.
chat. Here
Yeah,
it is.
there you go.
Strategy stock rises. Yeah, so basically the Biden administration put in this new potential tax, I believe up to 15% on unrealized gains. I don't know the specifics of exactly what asset classes fell into this this tax bracket, but it looks like there was an exemption given to MicroStrategy, perhaps just a more broad exemption to crypto overall. Let's read into this. I mean, the news Strategy no longer anticipating multi-billion tax liability for their $75 billion crypto holdings. Regulators, firms are not required to incorporate unrealized gains or losses on the value of digital assets. Okay, so digital assets are exempt. This does not mean they're exempt for you folks. This is corporations and unrealized gains. So this is not something that would have impacted us, but was clearly going to impact Strategy. 15% on 75 billion, so that's 10 billion in tax liability. So Saylor, I mean, they had to have been planning for this, right? Like even if they thought that it was going to get relieved, you have to have that rainy day plan at a minimum. So I feel like he just got a huge boost to capital. And now likely at least 3 years safe runway where this is not going to come back into play because the Trump administration is not going to put this back on the table. If anything, they're going to make it easier, lighten the regs. So I think it's a good time to be in the MSTR trade is my read on this. And I think that is clearly good for Bitcoin as well. So Bitcoin, again, having quite the day. Let's pull up the chart here. Bitcoin 119.5, touched a bit higher. I think we were, how high did we get on CoinMarket? Oh, wow. So it looks like we did get to basically 120 here briefly right before the show started, pulled back a touch. But we're basically just grinding up 2 to 3% per day right now.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
It is fine with me as well. ETF inflows, pretty fantastic. 675 million, 1.6 billion in net inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs over the past 3 days to start this week. So serious inflows, and I do not expect those to slow down, at least here in the near future. We've been talking about our thoughts on the market, but I thought it could be fun to pull in some thoughts from Mando, Ovi, and someone else on the timeline and maybe get your reactions to this, Logan. Since we don't have our good friend Mando on the show. A couple tweets this morning. Bitcoin all-time high coming this month. And then he victory laps it again. CT told you it was over. Bitcoin will hit an all-time high by end of October. Most of CT will be sidelined. Agree? Disagree? What are your reactions to Mando here?
Yeah. Firstly, so that first tweet, right, in which he indicates that most of CT will be sidelined, that was early September. Is that right? September 2nd. So, yeah, of course. Very early, as you know, Mando, super astute. So everything's ringing true thus far. It definitely, certainly feels like that, right? This has been, and I know we were talking about gradual gains, 2 to 3% over the last 4 or 5 days, but this has pretty swiftly moved us right back in range of previous all-time high. And it felt like, just last week it was over, right? Like 108.5, 109 or something like that. So all things on board. I mean, I think an all-time high is around the corner. Yeah, I'm with him.
The momentum is palpable. Gotta give Mando credit. He did call this pretty damn well. So he said grind up in September, though there's going to be some choppy periods, especially after the FOMC meeting, which we did very well have some choppy periods, but he stuck to his guns with the October all-time high call, and now we're 5% away. Do you know the all-time high offhand?
Maybe I think it's 124 something. I use CoinGecko, so the numbers are always a little bit different, but I believe it's just over one. I have it up right here actually. 124, 128 is what CoinGecko has. So we're about 3.5% from that.
All right, man. So you're going to fade 3.5%, 3.5% move for the next 29 days, not me.
No, I mean we could be there today, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Crazy movement in the Myriad line. Bitcoin's next hit moved to 125K or dipped to 105K. This has been a fun market. The flips have been just incredible to watch. If folks remember, this was over 90% because back on August 13th, we damn near got there. It was at 124,
right?
And then rejected off 125. So don't count your chips until it really hits through. But of course, the beauty of prediction markets is you can sell. You can always sell your bet above that 90% level. And then everyone got a nice entry last week.
Yes, if you wanted it.
3%. So an easy 3x since September 28th on this market. So wow. There are opportunities for nice gains in prediction markets. That is very clear. Let's go to the next tweet. This one from our good friend Ovi. He says a few good tweets, but I like this one. We are soon entering the disbelief stage where Bitcoin and ETH make new all-time highs as those who called the top for the 69th time drown in their sorrows. Good alts will follow in due course as usual. Thoughts on us being in perhaps a disbelief stage of a rally?
So I need to see the chart to understand. I don't have the visual imprinted on my brain about exactly where disbelief is. But as far as I can say, for my timeline and its sentiment, it does feel a little bit like disbelief. Like I said, I mean, it's been gradual, but it's been swift as well. I know those are kind of contrasting things, but it's just happened so quickly that I think it does leave, many sort of thinking like, okay, I don't really believe this is happening, because it's been such a swift turnaround. Disbelief. Okay, so that is the very tail end or the very beginning. Right, because this is the very beginning. If we're in disbelief, man, I want to believe we're in disbelief.
Me too.
I don't know.
Well, while you think about it, I'll wait for your final answer. What I do love is the tagline of disbelief is this rally will fail like the others, and like that is kind of aligned with the sentiment, right? So let's put aside the past price action from the last 3 years of this cycle. And I've been loudly against the 4-year cycle. I think we've broken out of that. So folks will look back at Bitcoin at 17K and say it's 119K. Like how could you possibly be at this part of the cycle? But if you are more in the camp of we're seeing mini cycles along a longer term grind up, you're effectively resetting every year. Let's take a look at the 1 year here. So we all know November 6th, we rally effectively, 80%, 60K to 104K. We chopped there for a while, dip in the April tariff sell-off. Got back to kind of a new range, this 110, 120. We've really been going sideways for most of the summer. I mean, you could almost say for 5-6 months now. So to me, another 50% move here, I believe would meet the criteria, right? So if we moved from 120 to maybe even 160, I'd probably count it. But 160, 180 range, I think would meet this criteria to me. And I do feel like a move like that is on the table.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's definitely on the table. It is still difficult for me to fathom it a little bit, right? Because those are uncharted waters for us. But I'm there. Like I said, I am not the macro guy. I understand my limits. When all of the people who are much smarter and much closer to all this stuff are anticipating higher and providing price targets that, are not like outlandish. I'm not like saying like $13 million Bitcoin or whatever the hell Saylor is talking about. I'm inclined to, to trust those types of analysis. So I feel like that's in range. It feels pretty good right now with where the market's at. Maybe if we get a few more, a few more days of excitement to really kick off like a full blown euphoria and drag us out of disbelief into whatever is the next one. Is it actually euphoria or hype or something? The next stage,
hope, then optimism, then belief.
I think.
Then euphoria.
Okay, so I think OSF could be onto something here. And again, I'm just working based on my own read of sentiment on the timeline, and in some of this price action here of late, it does feel like we would be in some disbelief right now. If you see us push closer to this all-time high number, I think that's when people start to feel a little tingly and start to feel that hope.
Yep.
And then, yeah, exactly that. So I think I'm good. I think I'm good with this. Yeah, I think I've talked myself.
Hope is 125. Optimism is probably like 130. And then if we really start moving from there, I think that's when you start to get in. That's my reading. I'm talking about Bitcoin specifically. Of course, I think each asset kind of has their own little mini charts like this. Another tweet, I'm not going to go through all of Ovi's tweets. This other one is paired with the disbelief. And he's basically saying everyone has recency bias to prior cycles, to prior drawdowns, and they're just kind of waiting and expecting another full 30, 50, 70% drawdown. And he's just calling back to the 2010 bull rally and how effectively from 2009 to 2020, the SPX went up 400%, NASDAQ went up 10x with no bigger drawdowns than 20 to 25%. And effectively saying this could very well happen again. And again, this is where my head is at, and it's lined up with this tweet from Palace. I basically said this view yesterday, but he's coming out and saying the unks who said this is the last cycle were right, but what they got wrong is thinking it's the last bull market. It's actually the last bear market. Crypto ETFs have now been adopted into the infinite bit. It will now on any multi-year time frame be up and to the right forever. I feel like I've shared my thoughts on this view. We've effectively pulled up this chart yesterday while we were talking about stocks and Mag 7 and whatnot. Agree, disagree with Palace? Yeah. I don't know if I know your clear thoughts on the 4-year cycle.
I don't know that I have like a super strong opinion on the 4-year cycle stuff. I never really subscribed to like this, very clearly dictated or orchestrated chronology of what has to happen. I don't think I've ever really been there. So I think to answer that, I would say, yeah, I don't see any reason we would stick into some time-based cyclical segment moving forward. And things do feel a little bit different now, right? We're very much now less isolated than we would have ever been before, meaning that there's just more participants, there's more money, there's more ways to participate as well. I wanted to go back to actually something from the OSF, the last tweet that you shared that I was thinking about. At the very bottom there, very, very final graph. Too much overcomplication on the timeline, in my opinion. Easiest route to big wealth is strong spot allocations and remain long and strong for years to come. The too much overcomplication thing really speaks to me a little bit. We're here every single day thinking about reasons why it could go down, like looking for those reasons as to why things could go poorly, things could go wrong, prices will go down. Instead of just like kind of zooming out, and it's so difficult to do. I totally get it. But like instead of just sort of zooming out and understanding and seeing like this convergence of all, of our industry with the rest of the world and being at the infancy stages of that. So too much overcomplication. Yeah, I'm right there. I think you just zoom out. It's hard to do it, but
I think when it comes to Bitcoin, there's two fundamental schools of thought. Assuming that people here are bullish on a longer term time horizon, and I think in general most are. So assuming you have a long term bull outlook, there's two views, two camps. One are the people who just try to stack spot Bitcoin and accumulate as much as they can during trades, trading other assets, rotating it back to Bitcoin with no real intention of selling anytime in the near future. That's camp one. Then you have camp two, which is trying to time cycles and sell their Bitcoin on the way up, effectively to stables, as I understand it, to try and catch dips to accumulate more Bitcoin on the next pull down. And while I appreciate the thought of trying to accumulate more, it just feels so risky to me that you see this chart, you see how much we're up off the bottom, and you want to be 80% stables now, 20% in Bitcoin to catch the next dip. And maybe we do dip lower than this next year. It very well could be possible. If I had the the ability to see the future, I'd be much richer than I am now. But I don't know, just stacking spot makes so much more sense to me. And I feel like the biggest winners, the folks who build the most wealth, are those who are just stacking and finding new ways to drive income, to accumulate these assets versus just trying to swing trade cycle timing.
This it reminds me of also those crazy statistics where it's like, it's that time in the market versus timing the market thing, where it's like if you miss the 3 best days or whatever, you only made like 6% versus like 30% or some shit. That's what this reminds me of, and I think that's the overcomplication part that Ovi's sort of talking about. Is we're in and out of these trades every single day, to try to perform as best as possible, to stack as much as possible, when you could really simplify things for yourself if you just kind of cut out a lot of the noise. And we're contributing to the noise, of course. I fully understand, the role that we're playing in that. But those who can, mute us to a certain degree are probably those who will perform the best.
Yeah, I mean, we have to show up. Us talking heads have to show up every day and talk about the near-term bear, near-term bull cases, right? We can't just show up every day and say stack the best assets and zoom out, right? That would not make for good financial TV. Let's move forward. We've spent a lot of time on the majors. A big surprise announcement this morning out of It Is Real. Very simple tweet announcing Burb coming soon-ish on Solana. Very interesting timing on this, right? So we had the announcement, Burb is coming. Moonbirds were getting swept pretty actively this morning, past a 44, I think perhaps for the first time since their 2022 run, and then decline. They're now selling off a bit. They're back to 3.8. I think what is notable here is impact on their strategy token. So Burb Strat had rallied all the way to like 13.5 million this morning. It was the top mover on the board. Now back to 10. 10 still a great number, up 30% on the day. But it raises the question, which I think has been on a lot of folks' mind, is how do these strategy tokens work with an actual project token? So curious for your reactions to the Burb announcement. And then the second part, what does it mean for Burb strategy?
Yeah, I think this has been not necessarily telegraphed, right? But in many ways, largely expected that there would be a token or some sort of token. We, of course, understand and recognize that Spencer was really close to the Penguins rebound and revitalization of that project and the growth of that ecosystem. And so I think in a lot of ways, this rebirth or rehatch, maybe I should say, of Moonbirds over the course of the last few months under his leadership, I think mirrors that a little bit. And there's excitement, and of course, as a result. So not necessarily thrown off or anything about the launch of a token. I think the Solana choice is interesting again, but does make sense too, just because of, that's where consumers are, lower fees for trading, all of those other little ancillary benefits that you get from that. The competition of the Burb token versus Burb strategy, and the same goes for all the others, is really interesting to me. That's something that I don't know how is going to play out over the course of the next few months. There's a part of me that suggests, or that thinks, giving all these different opportunities to folks to participate alongside your brand, to invest and to root for your brand, is a good thing overall. Mm-hmm. But fracturing the liquidities, fracturing the communities in a way of like different rooting interests is a little sticky. And I think we pointed it out before the show. I don't mean to steal any thunder from you, but OSF had a tweet exactly about this morning, and about potential REKT guy strategy versus REKT. And I think he very much said, like, we don't want to fracture the liquidity. And that's what's going to happen a little bit here. And what I think it does more than anything is it probably just hamstrings where the ceiling is, right? You may see like the flow back and forth between the two, as opposed to just kind of everything going towards one, so just pulls down the ceiling of those tokens, in my opinion, a little bit.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on it, and it is a tricky one. Going back to Burb strategy specifically, and then I'll go to Obi's thoughts in a second. So, all right, let's go back to Moonbirds rather. So Moonbirds have effectively rallied from about a 0.7 ETH floor to now 3.8 since Spencer entered the picture. When did that rally really start here? It looks like it started, was that back in June? So the beginning of the summer, it looks like is when that move, or was it later? Maybe it was July. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it was actually July is when we moved from a 0.64 and started up. So mid-July to now 2.5 months, almost 3 months, these things have 5.5x'd, even more in USD terms. So let's look at this in USD if we can.
I mean, this was a layup.
It was a layup trade.
Even if you didn't think 5x, just the energy around Spencer coming in and taking over, like you could have foreseen that as should have foreseen that. And I didn't make this trade. Talked about it, but never made it. So, dunking on myself here, but like energy alone around it. And I know you shouldn't be trading just on energy and vibes, perhaps, but this was a layup.
So 10x in USD terms. So huge trade for anyone who got in this. But I guess where I'm going with this is that the thesis was he's going to do a token. To me, I think it was new energy with Spencer taking over, kind of a seasoned NFT vet, plus he's going to do a token. Now we have the token news. So is this sell the news here? The confirmation of the token. Does that mean local top? And I'm not trying to be bearish, but this is just my objective view as someone who's thinking about entering now with the token confirmed. My gut is the price action all leading up to this was token expectations with maybe a combination of NFT strat, right? NFT strat. Let's see how it's impacted the last month. So yeah, I mean, NFT strategies came out about in this time frame. ETH had a downturn, and then it's up 50% in the past week. And now the case for Burb strategy is more complicated, right? Like, are you gonna buy in size into Burb Strat, the token, right now, knowing the actual project token is coming, perhaps next month, perhaps in December? It's a trickier proposition now, right?
So didn't Spencer? Did we talk about this yesterday? He's like been embracing Burb strategy? Is that right?
He did, and I was away when he did it, so I don't know exactly how he embraced it. Okay. But how do you manage two tokens?
Yeah, well, I can't answer that. I mean, I imagine he's going to be solely focused on the actual one, right? And on making Moonbirds the best possible project and its corresponding companion projects, the best possible brand and projects. Like that's his core focus. And I think if you're focused on those things and you're him, not to speak for him, but like you're probably expecting Burb strategy pulls itself along, right? It sort of travels alongside the growth or the expected growth of Moonbirds as a whole. And he shouldn't be thinking about the Burb strategy token. The one thing I would say is I wonder, they have full control over tokenomics. We don't know what they are yet. He's embraced Burb strategy. They've already been quite generous, I think, in terms of community allocations and stuff, like, or at least in terms of hinting at like really supporting and beyond just like this very tight-knit group of Moonbirds holders, much like what Pudgy did, right? Like billions, millions of people could claim it. It wouldn't surprise me if you see like Burb strategy holders have some sort of Burb claim.
Very interesting. So that would be a way to perhaps do it. On the Burb token, Moonbirds NFTs are at $150 million market cap. Do you think the token opens higher than $150 million? I'll pull up anime for perspective. Anime is at 150.
150 million is a lot for an NFT token. I'd like to know a little bit more about the tokenomics. My initial thoughts when you say 150 million is lower, but I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. I think 150 million feels high, but it also feels like it should be higher than anime.
Yeah, I think you're right. The thing that is like a little, it's weighing on me a little bit here is that I think there's a lot of belief in Spencer, you know,
Mhm.
and probably rightfully so, right? And so at that point, when you're comparing, you know, disregard the fact that it's an NFT project related token. When you're just comparing token market caps, like 150 million doesn't really feel like all that high. You know, I know that's a little absurd to say, but um,
I think that's fair. So we'll see. I'm sure we will continue to revisit Burb Strat and the Burb token on this show. I won't hit Punk Strategy again. We spent a lot of time on it this week, but man, up another 30%. It's at 144
shit.
million market.
I'd be up if I would have just bought on Monday when I outlined my convictions on it and why I thought it was so great. Yeah.
It's up 100%
Yeah.
from Monday, right? So we had the Sunday sell-off into that kind of exploit FUD. I think it got to 60, 70. So it's basically up 2x since then. It does look like they will probably get the 20th punk today. If not today, definitely tomorrow. So some serious momentum in this ecosystem. It looks like every dip is just getting bought. So I woke up and this thing was down from 150 to 130. And I was trying to think of, okay, how can I find some coins in the digital couch cushions to buy some more of this? And before I could figure it out, basically it's back. So it's back to all-time highs. So there's some very strong ongoing bid for this one. I tweeted yesterday that I do think it goes to $1 billion. I think I'm going to stick by that. I do think this thing has a real shot at $1 billion. And maybe even once it gets there, it's going to be a 2x to flip the Punk's market cap. And I think that's going to be a big target. So I'm not short Punk strategy. That is very clear. Let's move on. I want to talk about Polymarket. So this kind of caught me off guard yesterday. I was doing my roundup in the afternoon and I saw this headline. Stacey Jones, colleague over at Decrypt, wrote this article, but prediction market Polymarket poised to relaunch in the US within days and maybe as soon as today. This kind of shocked me. I guess I didn't realize it was happening this fast. I wrote about it in the newsletter this morning for those who do follow along with the Morning Minute. But quickly, this is the timeline. So in July, Polymarket bought QCX clearing for 112 million. They effectively bought this CFTC license. That was the reason for the acquisition. On September 3rd, CFTC staff issued a no action letter giving them limited relief on event contracts. Polymarket has since started self-certifying event contracts on things like sports or elections. And then under the CFTC rules, I guess this is kind of like perhaps a loophole that we're talking about. But once a DCM files a certification, the agency has 1 business day to object. And if they don't object, that the prediction market can list it immediately. And I guess Polymarket has come out and said that these listings will occur no earlier than October 2nd. So effectively, what this means here, as I interpret it, they start self-certifying these markets. They launch these markets, and if the CFTC does not object, they can stand. Is my read on this. So it's one of those don't ask permission, apologize after the fact type thing. And Polymarket seems like the group who would go after that, right? So are we going to see Polymarket US this week?
Is that so you had Polymarket pulled up earlier in one of your tabs. Is that if you went back to the homepage, there was like a little US flag. Okay, yeah. Is that always been there or no? Okay, okay, that's the is coming home.
Yeah,
Got it. I was wondering if it went. I can't imagine it would have gone live without somebody telling us, but right under our nose. I'm really interested to see what happens here. I don't imagine that anyone who hasn't. I don't imagine that people that want to use Polymarket haven't been using Polymarket. You know what I mean? Like if you really wanted to use it, I imagine you've probably been using it. I'm wondering like what the onboarding looks like once they can sort of open floodgates, market to US users a little bit more broadly.
Does Polymarket have a mobile app? You know,
I don't think so. I think it did at one point. I don't have my phone near me. And I was messing around and looking at it because I downloaded Kalshi. I'm not like making a lot of trades on prediction markets right now. I do follow them, but
well, I do everything on web. So I don't really even think about Yeah, so it looks like it does have a mobile app. But where I was going with this is, like, in general, I agree with your viewpoint that people who wanted to trade on Polymarket could have found a way. They could have taken a flight, whatever. You know the workarounds. But I do think there's a large cohort of people who just won't do that.
Yeah.
And VPN on your phone, right, it is a little bit trickier to manage. I imagine there's not a huge cohort of folks who have that. So I think that the big unlock is mobile. Like mobile US is big, especially for sports. I think we probably have friends who don't really, pretty much are mobile only bettors at this point. We know sports is driving the lion's share of volume right now, at least broadly across prediction markets. So I think that is a big unlock there. So I do think volumes will be impacted. I was taking a look, and I think we pulled this up on the show this week, but they're already up and to the right. I think I saw Kalshi did $1 billion last week. So Kalshi shares up at 62%. So that they have a significant lion's share of the volume. Do you think Polymarket eats back into that?
Yeah, I think it should. I think you're right. The Kalshi mobile experience is pretty nice. Like I said, I'm not making active trades on there, but I do have the app downloaded and will occasionally scroll through the stuff. It's simple, as like a user of Web 2 products. I could totally understand why you would be doing if you were going to participate with prediction markets, why you would be doing it in Kalshi via mobile. So I'll need to see what the Polymarket mobile experience looks like, but if anywhere near as easy, then I fully expect they will eat into some of the shares, that market share number anyway. There's some also like interesting lingering stuff for Polymarket, right? Which is potential airdrop stuff. Like that was a speculation point, of course. I don't know anything further about it, but those types of things bring in volumes that perhaps weren't previously there. Interesting. Agreed. Yeah, we'll see.
I saw an interesting take from Domer, and it's very long, and I'm not going to go through it. And he's a prediction market whale. I don't know the exact numbers. I think he's up 7 figures trading prediction markets over the last couple of years. And he has a long post about his thoughts at a Polymarket at 9 billion. And how if he was given an airdrop at 9 billion, he would hold it and would think about adding more. And I'm curious for your take on that. We talked about this a little bit on Against the Odds show a couple weeks back. Polymarket at 9 billion. Are you buying, selling, or holding? I'm going to give you
that's market cap.
We'll say FDV.
I think I'm definitely holding. I'm just scrolling through the board to comp for myself a little bit.
Top 35. Trump coins at 7.5. Uniswap 8. Story 9. If Ena's 9.
Well,
9.
Let's say this. Assuming I didn't need the money for anything right away, if something fell into my lap, I think I'm holding at 9 billion and potentially adding. Yeah, it is the biggest prediction market brand. It is, in my opinion, even though the market share may differ. All things else equal, once we're back in the USA, clear a lot of those barriers. I think it is the prediction market brand. And if you do believe this stuff is up and to the right, which I'm inclined to believe, I do think that we were talking about this offline yesterday a little bit. I do think some of the broad appeal is a little overblown. I don't think this is going to drag in every user ever from every whatever. But the opportunity here is massive. And so I think at 9 billion, I would be holding and potentially adding more. Yeah.
I tend to agree. And I think what's interesting about Polymarket is it's a unicorn in crypto. It would create its own sector effectively, right? Maybe other prediction markets front run and drop a token. I think we have some prediction market tokens on the market, but effectively they would be the first major player. Zim and Kalshi top 1 and 2. You can maybe they flip their rankings. Kalshi doesn't have a token. So Polymarket launches their token in Q4. $9 billion seems fair, and I think I would be a buyer. Like, it is not a trade where I think you expect a 10x in a year by any means. I do think you could probably get a quick 2x. Is Polymarket a top 20 token? I would put it above Toncoin, I think. I see the Telegram coin currency use case certainly, and that's a huge app as well. Maybe not even the best comp, but just in general, in a vacuum, it feels like Polymarket could very well be a top 20, top 15 coin.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think one of the things that has not really been discussed too much about Polymarket, but that this fits right into the existing meta, is like the actual business / revenue stuff. I mean, it's got that going for it too, right? It falls in line quite nicely alongside things like Hyperliquid and Pump Fun, as far as like having a real legitimate purpose. Yeah, if you could, I guess, poke holes at how legitimate the purpose of a prediction market is, but actually having some substantive reason for existing versus XYZ token. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think at those numbers, I wouldn't necessarily be rushing to sell. Although it's very difficult. Of course, free money falls in your lap. It's difficult to not take it.
Of course. We'll see. And this is going to be arguably, there's going to be a lot of interesting airdrops in Q4. And we've seen tons of chatter on what's being heavily farmed, what's being underfarmed. Shout out to YEET, our partner, a good partner of the Morning Minute as well, underexposed. I've seen some increased chatter on YEET as the most underfarmed airdrop. We know we have OpenSea coming up as a huge one.
MetaMask,
Rainbow, additional airdrops from protocols like Aster. I mean, Monad. Oh yeah, the intern said Monad is indeed coming. Q4. Let's talk about that for a second. What are your excitement levels for Monad?
1 through 10, maybe like a 4. I don't know. It's not a knock on Monad at all. Like, I just don't know what to expect, really. It's been forever that this has been expected to hit our timelines, and our participation opportunities would be abundant, to participate on another performant layer 1 network. But it's just, I have not messed around with testnet really too much outside of like the first day fantasy top Monad testnet stuff. Claimed a couple testnet Mon. I wrote like a small piece for Decrypt about it as well. Full disclosure, I was fortunate enough to get one of those Monad cards, one of those community cards. I don't know what that does or means or matters for yet, but just want to throw that disclosure out there. So 4. I want to see what happens. And if it is something that, gosh, airdrop claim loading 51%.
And Monad will launch this quarter.
I feel like 2 weeks ago they said it was right around the corner. And then I feel like 2 weeks before that they said it was right around the corner.
Here's my question. I would say my excitement level is a 1. And like, why should I be excited? I'm not trying to flood Monad. Maybe it'll be fine. Like, I don't know anything about it. Like, what apps do they have? Like, what am I going to do on Monad?
Yeah.
This is a very competitive space. I'm trying to trade perps on 3 different platforms across multiple chains right now. I'm trying to juggle prediction markets. I'm trying to get a few NFT trades in for OpenSea. And I've got limited time capacity. And I'm missing a lot. I mean, you could absolutely be a full-time airdrop farmer. You could probably have a team right now with all the opportunities that are out there. And my point is, this is a crowded time.
Yeah.
And how are they going to win users?
Yeah. I mean, it's cliche, but there's got to be something to do. The apps have to be slam dunks. I think you got to have at least one like absolute slam dunk killer app to get people to use your chain. Solana, Pump Fun, and beyond. Think about early base stuff like Friendtech got a lot of people there for whatever you want to say about Friendtech. That was a reason to use base. And not to suggest that all of the money stuck around on Base because of Friendtech, right? And the Coinbase affiliation, of course, like it's tough to really put that one alongside these, but you need something like that. There's got to be a reason for us to be there first. And then you hope that you can keep us around with other sticky applications and use cases.
But the reply to that is the most important thing of all is a strong token. And if they airdrop a token and the price goes up, that will be enough to get.
Yeah.
It just happened with Aster, a platform that no one knows about, and then tripped over themselves to do $90 billion a day in perps volume. So there is a path out there for the monad believers.
Yeah, I think so.
About pump, and just quickly, I have to go here. I just totally forgot. We still had this pump airdrop. It didn't come in September. It's 45% by the end of the year. Oh no! And of course, there's not much volume on this market, so take it with a grain of salt. I guess there's no October market. Interesting. But my God, is Pump really not going to give the people an airdrop in 2025?
I feel like my expectation is that Pump has just like a little red button on the desk somewhere, and then they're just going to hit it at some point.
Alan's got the codes,
you know, and to me, like we talked about it earlier this week, with the Aster one looming with a date, I understand why you would not, you wouldn't hit that button in the next couple days. But with the market conditions the way they are, you want to make people happy. I know it's tough to like time the market for these types of things, but if you've got all your ducks in a row and you can start to smell and feel that hope, that move from disbelief into hope, is there a better time to hit go? I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they've got a plan as well. And it's going to impact the Pump token. Certainly. Maybe it'll be a bullish unlock.
Bullish unlock.
I think the Aster airdrop could be bullish as well. We'll certainly see. 2 minutes left in the show. I forgot during our NFT strategies, we got to talk about this node strategy. It came out last night. It's from the Bitcoin and Ordinals community. It is not a affiliate of Adam Aeronautic and the TokenWorks team NFT strategies. But I think the auction is live. Maybe it's done. I haven't checked in on the auction.
I saw somebody in the chat say it was done, and I was going to do it. And now I'll just cry about it, obviously probably going up afterwards.
But man, nodes sending up over 100% off the bottom, up 70% on the day. Other collections as well. So puppets are up. They're catching this. And Taproot's still hanging out at 0.167. So we'll see. If this is successful, expect some other ordinal strategies probably to come.
Yeah, Pups is a no-brainer, isn't it?
I was just very curious about, and I am not a tech whiz, I'm the opposite of that. Like, what are the technical details of getting this to work in an automated fashion with ordinals? Man, that feels tricky.
I don't want to know, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe the less we know, the better. But some nice signs of life into ordinals with Bitcoin rallying. So you truly love to see that. That was one of the only other headlines. I think this isn't a super long one. Lighter. So this is the third perps DEX by volume size right now, behind just Aster and Hyperliquid. They went live with the public mainnet. So it's been private, now full to the public. I have not really used this one, but folks compliment it pretty highly. Say that it is pretty slick, fast, and I think the fees are maybe the lowest. I could be wrong, but the fees are low, fast, and I think expectations of a token. Oh yeah, they've got a points program. So the first season concluded, second season is starting up. So clearly folks are going after that one. So be aware if you are into the perps trading game, another platform to be paying close attention to here. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Maybe we'll talk about this UBI stablecoin pilot tomorrow if we have a little bit more time. Not an immediate impact, more of a theoretical, conceptual discussion there. Was there anything else on your list for today, Logie?
I don't think so. I think we hit a lot. I'm eager to see what happens with that node monkey strategy thing. I really think this whole strategy thing, this has been a really cool kind of big unlock innovation thing. You know, you have those sort of formative pieces of innovation that spurn their own innovations. I think Pump.Fun was one of those, right? Led to a million other pump or token launch pads, but that is its thing. Maybe it's a little too early to call it this, but this is one of those first like token fee mechanism innovations that is starting to get hold. And I think you're going to see a lot more cool stuff as a result of that. So I think it's a space you should definitely pay attention to for sure.
I agree. And part of me feels bad talking about it on the show every day. And clearly I'm a holder of Punk Strategy. I wish I was holding more of these tokens. But it really does feel like a big deal. And it has been a bit of a shift. And the most exciting thing that happened to NFTs in quite some time. So we're going to keep talking about it on this show. But along with other things, as for today, we are done talking. So thank you, all of our listeners, for tuning in to today's show. It was a fun one. The Green Day shows are always better. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern to close out the week. Until then, go have a beautiful day.